significant percentage of the city's pipes are over 100 years old. Now, the city has gotten federal funds in the past to address some of these issues in select locations. FEMA has identified throughout the city to replace some of the transmission lines, and that work has been done. But clearly, the pace of proactive work has not kept pace with the aging and failure of the pipes, and you see it manifesting right now. So it's going to be a hot button issue, both for the city council, obviously Mayor Moreno early in her first term, and of course Executive Director Randy Heyman, who just took over in July but has already faced a series of crises, this just being the latest, adding fuel to the fire. What is going to be done to keep these water mains, these large water mains, from bursting and pouring water all over the city and putting the city potentially in a boil water advisory? Yeah, last May Johnson broke out, and the sheriff's office explained it in many ways as kind of a perfect storm. Not enough jail supervision, not enough training for the jail officers, and infrastructure failures that allowed him and others to effectively make their way out. Now, what you're seeing behind me is razor wire that was put in within the last year in direct response to those escapes. But this time, the jail says, Johnson was able to make his way over the fence, over that new razor wire, with the help of another inmate. We sat down with Business License Administrator Kelly Smith in her lobby, with a city attorney in the background.
Why say unlawful activity if there have been no convictions?
Well, I run the business license division, so my team is behind me, as you can see. I don't run CPD, so whatever investigations they have going on, I don't want to interfere with that.
So CPD told you there was unlawful activity?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Had CPD provided you any documentation showing there had been convictions?
I can't answer that.
Well, there have been no convictions, so the answer is no. So again, where does the business license office find the authority to shut down a business if they can't prove unlawful activity has happened?
So unlawful activity in my ordinance is based on information that I receive, and it's a judgment call that I can make based on that information.
So you made that call. So why make that call?
Because of the information that I received from CPD.
283305. Brian L. gave his package tracking number to a FedEx employee on the other side of a gate intercom.
What's a good phone number for you?
It's the third time I was asked that.
It didn't seem to do much good. Well, here's the map in question. It's on the East Bank, obviously, and you can see these older pipes traditionally are closer to the river. So you go from uptown through the Garden District, ultimately ending up in Holy Cross. But if you've been familiar with some of these water main breaks, one of the higher profile ones happening here at the intersection of Carrollton and Panola. This month, water burst from a broken pipe at Panola and Carrollton, flooding the street and Billy Joel Dalton's apartment.
This is just the final straw. I can't do this anymore.
On Thursday, we found her trying to salvage family photos.
I shouldn't have had to do this. I was in a safe place. The water should have never come to me. There was no flood, there was no hurricane. It just came out of the ground because the Sewer and Water Board didn't keep up their end of the deal.
A new map from the Sewerage and Water Board shows she lived next to a pipe which was more than 100 years old. The map shows century-old piping can be found through the southern part of the East Bank, from Uptown through the Garden District and the French Quarter to Holy Cross. Richard DeMarco owns Dalton's apartment and says the pipe's age doesn't surprise him.
It was bad news. You know, I'm not a worrywart. I knew when I saw that thing this high, pounding this thing 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I knew I was in serious trouble.
The utility released the map as part of an action plan to replace old pipes and strengthen the system. It estimates replacing all the 100-year-old pipes would cost $680 million. Sewerage and Water Board Executive Director Randy Heyman has been pushing for financial help.
I think we can never work fast enough. I mean, urgency is our middle name, actually. We have to be urgent in what we're doing.
The plan also shows a map where the Sewerage and Water Board has already replaced old water mains. The work is largely north of Claiborne Avenue. The map also shows work that's planned but isn't funded. This week, Mayor Helena Moreno suggested the utility turn to bond funding as a potential option to pay for its action plan.
That could potentially bring in anywhere between 150, 175, potentially up to $200 million so that we can move these projects forward.
Back on Carrollton, Dalton says she and her family are likely going to move, but she has a warning for those who remain next to the old pipes.
Do yourself a favor and start hitting every single sewer and water board meeting they're having. Get down there, get your name out there, get your address out there. Make sure they know that you're at one of these possible breaks, because if you're on ground level as we are, you could be going through exactly what I'm going through.
The next board committee meeting is scheduled for April 2nd.
So here's one more look at the map. Again, you're going to want to look at the red lines that signifies the older pipes. You can find this map right now on fox8live.com. John?
For a year, Olivia and Alika UN watched their daughter, a vibrant 2-year-old, thrive at the Crescent School in Algiers.
We had some really amazing experiences at this community-run school, some really beautiful moments our daughter really enjoyed.
They thought it was a safe haven until doctors gave their daughter a devastating diagnosis.
You are feeling so much as a parent, so much fear and anxiety about like what's going to happen in the next 24 hours, and then you're flooded with like the next 24 years going to look like.
This summer, the UN say their little girl was hospitalized with lead poisoning. Now for them, the future is scary to think about.
How will this impact fertility? How will this impact her aging? Those are things that you can spiral really fast thinking about.
The CDC reports lead can slow child development and damage the brain.
I've thought about this, how I would describe it is like a scream being trapped in your chest.
The UN say they didn't know about the lead on campus until this summer, when a pediatrician found spiked lead levels in their daughter's blood during a routine checkup. That triggered an inspection of the school and the UN's home days later. The UN's provided records showing investigators didn't find lead at their home. State investigators say they found lead in the school building and on its grounds.
It was really hard for me to hold it together.
The state shut down the school after the inspectors found the lead. State law requires owners of new daycares to test their properties for lead if their grounds haven't already been assessed for lead since 1978. Fox 8's Led Astray series found state investigators reported no lead paint inspection ever took place before the daycare opened, and state law doesn't require state agencies to check if the school's owner got a lead inspection before allowing the daycare to open for students in 2024.
To feel a failure point in this scenario and in people and systems that you trusted is extremely angering and extremely disappointing as well.
The UN's daughter tested positive for lead poisoning a year later. Liza Drennan is the owner of the Crescent School.
I trusted, like I said, and I don't know how many times I can say, is I trusted the Department of Health and I trusted the Department of Education to not only make sure that I did everything, but also to say, hey, did you do this? Hey, you missed this. They're supposed to help me, because it's not just helping me, it's helping a school.
Drennan had to complete this Department of Education checklist before opening. That list includes getting a Department of Health inspection, but that inspection didn't check for lead. The department says it does not check for lead at schools or restaurants before they open. The health department recommended Drennan get her license to open her daycare in April 2024. The Department of Education also gave Drennan the okay to open up weeks later.
You put your trust in a system, and a system has a law to make it to a regulation, which should make it to a checklist for a business owner to follow, and that system was not there, and it did feel very disappointing.
In our daily lives as legislators, we come across gaps in laws or existing laws that quite frankly fail to utilize common sense.
Republican State Senator Patrick McMath chairs the Senate's Health and Welfare Committee. He wants to require daycare owners to report that they've completed lead testing to the health department before the state can give a daycare the green light to open.
We're going to fix this. In fact, I've already advised my staff to start drafting legislation. This will probably be the first bill that I drop in the 2026 regular session. Thanks to your reporting, by the way. And it's really, it's pretty simple. I think the owner of the facility is going to be required to test for lead and then provide those results.
It appears McMath will have help across the aisle. Democratic State Senator Gary Carter, who represents Algiers, wants to see change and explore which state agency should enforce the lead inspections.
Whether it's the Department of Education, whether it's the Department of Health, or whether or not it's the Department of Environmental Quality, the state of Louisiana needs to make certain that these inspections are taking place before schools open.
Carter says the LDH reported to him that 18 out of 27 children at the Crescent School had elevated lead levels. We've asked the department to confirm how many children were impacted. It has not responded.
I'm very concerned about those kids. I'm concerned about their long-term health. I care for their parents, and I want to make sure that those kids receive the testing and treatment that they need, and to make certain that this doesn't happen again.
The LDH says the Crescent School is the only school since 2013 which triggered a department-led inspection. The UNs are now suing the school, the state, and the building's owners over the poisoning. Their attorney, Megan Kiefer, welcomed the news of a potential change in the law.
We're encouraged to hear some very common sense solutions being proposed by the legislature and applaud them for that. It would be certainly very simple to have a property owner, a business owner who is getting a license from the state to operate a daycare to prove that they've done what they're supposed to do.
For the UNs, it's a common sense step that comes too late.
I don't think that it seems unreasonable to ask that if there's a law that is in place to protect the well-being of some of our most vulnerable citizens.
Lawmakers say it's time to make sure those vulnerable citizens are not put at risk again.